And we are back in 2016. Tim is with me once again.
Oh, so happy to be here.
Mark is still buried in entertainment work hell for that 7-day-a-week grind he's been doing all
Mark
the way
and
through the
his
holiday.
real job, showing off. Just showing off.
But we will see him tomorrow night at our LA Film Critic dinner. Looking forward to that, Tim?
Where we all get dressed up and go out and hang out with the people we criticize all year, which is frankly kind of strange. I must say, it's a weird sort of thing. We sort of rag on these people for 12 months and then we give them a party.
And, I remember a few years ago when we gave Best Actor to Sean Penn for Milk. There was a really... because what they always do when they go up, they always feel the need to sort of cater to the group. If you're accepting an award from the Hollywood Foreign Press at the Golden Globes, you make sure you make reference to the foreign press. And with the LA Film Critics, they always will single out somebody. And I remember Sean Penn specifically singled out Kenny Turan's LA Times review. Yeah. And you could tell Kenny was loving it. He was sitting there, he was laughing, he was having such a great time because Sean Penn is up there in front of a room full of 300 people and talking about him. And when you hide behind a byline most of your career, it's kind of nice for those things to happen. But it was a very, very funny speech. I still remember that, just talking about how Turan's review basically said, "Well, we expect him to be great," and he just the weight of the expectations just made him panic. So.
Well, our show, or our dinner ceremony, is not televised or broadcast in any particular way, which I think makes for a completely different sort of...
Is it streamed now? They've streamed it a couple of years.
They did, Skype once, I think, something like that. But it makes for a completely different sort of evening.
I know a few years ago when I wasn't able to make it, when my daughter was an infant, I watched the whole thing just lying in bed with her sleeping.
Was that the Doris Day? Was that the Doris Day
No,
event?
I was at the Doris Day event.
You were
that was a bit of a train wreck.
Oh, that was crazy.
The Skype that didn't really... Skype was Skype was a co-sponsor of the evening, and we talked to Doris Day via Skype, and it didn't work.
Somebody should have introduced her to the technology.
And I don't know if Skype ever actually paid their sponsorship fee for that. That was an issue for a few years, but in any case,
it's going to be a fun night.
Yes, it is. It's going to be a good night, and I get to present
Career
Achievement Award to Ann V. Coates.
Oh, lovely! Of course, the
wonderful
editor,
Lawrence of Arabia, and I did something very interesting. I'm going to give a little preview to you and to the listeners. Of course, by the time most of them hear this, the awards show will probably be over. But because the thing that I want to focus on in my very brief comments is that a great artist, you can tell the quality of their work by looking at the work they've done, but you have to look at their influence to really see their longevity. And I marathoned, believe it or not, Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia, and Dr. Zhivago. And because I wanted to sort of evaluate just exactly how much she impacted David Lean's filmmaking. And I'll tell you, even though she didn't edit Dr. Zhivago, her influence is all over that movie. David Lean edited Bridge on the River Kwai very much the way that he edited all of his previous films, 30s and 40s, into the 50s, very traditional, lots of dissolves, kind of very, very, very classical filmmaking. And what she brought, it was this dynamism in the way that scenes are juxtaposed, and that's all over the place in Dr. Zhivago. Yeah. It's all over the place.
And that particular sort of female sensibility, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
A passion. That I think comes from there.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, you know what? We after the holiday shows, a bunch of late-breaking box sets came in, so I want to go through and just make sure that people are on deck with a lot of these. If you have some Christmas money, if you have some Hanukkah money, if you have some leftover holiday money, let me tell you what you can probably do with it. The stuff that you didn't get in your stocking, the complete series of Dexter, all 8 seasons in a absolutely gorgeous Showtime box DVD set, 2 enormous keep cases with 4 seasons apiece in them. Just a really beautiful set, and I was never a fan of this show, but I think you liked it probably better than I did.
Dexter was an interesting show. It was the performances that I liked the most about that show. I had a couple of friends that appeared in that series too, so buy that set, get them some royalties.
And then we also have
The X-Files.
The X-Files, which is back. Did you ever think that was going to happen?
And it shouldn't happen, but we'll talk about this. This series frustrated. That's a beautiful box. I'll let you continue because that really is a beautiful box.
It's a gorgeous box. This is the collector's set, the X-Files collector's set in a huge 20th century box. Like this is one of those boxes that's almost like the size of a coffee table book, but it's huge and it's gorgeous and it's got 23 hours of content new to Blu-ray. So you could literally just lock yourself in front of the widescreen and spend a whole week just watching X-Files and catching up so that you're all primed and addicted for the new series.
I adored the X-Files series. I was one of the true believers. I was a Chris Carter guy, right? So I stuck with this series. What was it, 9 seasons? I think it was 9 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is, yes. It is absolutely, it's just walloping.
Now, I'm watching this series, and suddenly I realized that Mulder and Scully are no longer in the series, although they haven't left the series. They're just never in any of the episodes. It's like when you were watching Moonlighting 30 years ago, and Dave and Maddie sort of left the show, but they still called it Moonlighting, and they still showed them in every episode. They literally left the show, and they just didn't say so. It was the cheatiest thing a network series has ever done, is replace the leads without ever really saying, they're never coming back. This is a different show now.
Closest thing I can think of is when the Dukes of Hazzard they had that contract dispute with Schneider and Wopat, and went and found like their cousins, which is basically a couple of untalented models who just looked exactly like them to swap in for a few episodes.
Hair and a blonde guy.
And then there was a really embarrassing episode where they finally got the contract sorted out and they brought them back. And there's like this moment where they like wave, "Hey, cuz," and they just literally walk. How awkward was that? It's like, oh, so you're the scabs who took our jobs for a month. Wow. Well, anyway, this has space for the new event series that is airing this year, and so they want you to buy this so that you plug that one in, like in the James Bond sets.
I don't suppose the movies are related to that box set in any way, right?
No.
The X-Files. Okay.
No. Yeah. Did you like the movie?
No. Exhibit.
Yeah.
Exhibit as an FBI agent? That's insane. That's just insane. Anyway.
We also have Jennifer Love Hewitt as the Ghost Whisperer, the complete series. 107 episodes. I had no idea it ran that long. When I think of the fact that the Ghost Whisperer has more episodes than Star Trek, somehow I bristle at that.
This is what I can say about that series. Jennifer Love Hewitt is really hot.
Yeah, true. All the time.
I don't have any other thoughts about it.
Not a lot of special features here. There's the Other Side web series and a few audio commentaries and deleted scenes, some featurettes, and it includes the final season on a separate keep case. So it's got one of those big old thick ones for seasons 1 through 4, like on Dexter, and then you got the final season on a separate case.
I got Hannibal over here on Blu-ray. Interesting. Now, I did not watch this series very much, but I got to tell you, I'm a big Mads Mikkelsen fan.
Love Mads Mikkelsen.
And if anybody's going to play Lecter that's not Anthony Hopkins, I'm thinking Mads Mikkelsen. Can probably pull it off. But I'll be interested to sort of dig into this a little bit. Hugh Dancy, Gillian Anderson, interesting, since we were just talking about the X-Files a second ago. And it seems to have been quite a popular show. This is the Blu-ray that we have here with not a whole lot of stuff on it, but it's a series that some people are into.
A couple from the History Channel, the War Collection and the Bible Collection. They, of course, 16 discs on the Bible Collection, 17 discs on the War Collection. This is the History Channel just kind of cleaning house, going around, finding some stuff that they need to get a little bit of extra earnings on, and they just slap them all together in these semi-related documentary compilations. There's a few decent stuff in here. The Bible one has some stuff in it that we've talked about in other shows. Banned from the Bible 2 and Banned from the Bible 1 are a couple of really interesting little docs. And then there's the Execution of Jesus, which is always interesting. And then on the war set is there were 3 on here that I actually wanted to recommend. Vietnam in HD is really, really good. The Mexican-American War is like the only documentary I've ever seen about that war. And then Battlefield Detectives, the War of 1812. Really cool. Really interesting.
I got Marco Polo over here. This is an original Netflix series. Again, didn't get a chance to watch this one yet, but it's always struck me as sort of interesting. This one follows the adventures of a young Marco Polo who finds himself in the court of the Kublai Khan. This is all stuff that I just absolutely love. And I'm definitely going to dig into this. Special features. This one has a documentary on it, some martial arts features and the visual effects and stuff like that. Marco Polo, the complete first season.
This is an interesting series because the it sort of splashes it up a little bit to Game of Thrones style. The whole idea is to kind of sex it up a little bit, because the last Marco Polo that we had was that 80s series, the 80s miniseries that was sort of trying to, you remember that 80s miniseries?
No, I'm trying to think of it.
There was a Marco Polo series in the 80s with an Ennio Morricone score, which was lovely, and it starred the guy from Krull.
Kevin Sorbo.
No,
Kevin Sorbo?
No, from Krull.
From Krull. I thought
Krull, the movie Krull.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Krull was the
Cyclops and the guy.
That's the thing with the James Horner score. Anyway, the kid whose name I'm just drawing a blank on. But anyway, they threw him in as Marco Polo, and the only thing that I remember that was really distinctive about that was that Leonard Nimoy played like the vizier in the court of Kubla Khan or something. It was just strange seeing Leonard Nimoy there and just going, you're a Jewish man, but you play aliens and Chinese and Mongols, and it's how does that work?
Yeah.
Anyway,
he wasn't green, didn't have pointy ears.
Yeah. Also, real quickly, the JAG. The complete series, Judge Advocate General. Mark and I have talked about this a lot in the past because of Catherine Bell.
Yeah.
Because she was in in our friend Norman's short film, which Mark and I both worked on when Norman and I were in film school.
Okay, the film school film. Yeah, I was thinking about a different film that I think different film, right?
Yes, this was a rather notorious film, and she had a rather notorious scene in the student film, which you wouldn't think somebody would do in a student film, but she did, and we cleared the room. And
didn't hurt her career.
It sure did not. She wound up on a TV show, and where are we? So anyway, this is another giant box. They got the 4-season keep cases in here for 1 through 4, 5 through 8, and then a smaller keep case for seasons 9 and 10. Let me repeat, JAG ran for 10 years.
That blows me away.
I just don't get it.
People made whole careers off of some of those shows.
10
blows
years.
Blows me away.
Unreal.
I've got the True Detective, the complete second season, which was apparently not as popular as the first season, which I did in fact watch.
This season I have watched some of this, and I think people are too hard on it. I got to be honest. I think because it's not. Here's what I think. I think they did a really smart thing by trying to go in a completely different direction and redo the show. Unfortunately, everybody loved the first season so much they wanted the second season to be more the same, which it is not.
Different actors, different director. It's sort of an anthology, different sort of sensibility, and you have to give it room to go.
They reinvented it.
Except in L.A. this one, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I don't think it's brilliant. I didn't think the first season was brilliant. Again, I haven't seen this entire season, so but it certainly what I have seen strikes me as being fine. Certainly fine. I mean, worth keeping it going.
A lot of bonus features on this, making of this, that, and the other thing. Look inside True Detective. A lot of good stuff on this. So, True Detective second complete season.
Yeah.
On Blu-ray.
You know what ran for 9 seasons, Tim? Matlock.
That I don't have any trouble believing, though.
How interesting can it be watching Andy Griffith basically be a geriatric Perry Mason week in and week? I guess if you're like 75 years old and this is all you have to look forward to every week, but seriously,
between that and the what was the other one? Jessica, what's her Murder She Wrote?
Yes, Murder She Wrote.
Something about the 80s
and CBS.
CBS did in that period. These sort of geriatric writer, lawyer, detective-y types just rule the roost.
And there are no extras on here, so really all there is to appeal to anybody is just Andy Griffith.
It's a good-looking box, though. Good-looking white
a nice box.
It's all laid out there.
Big old heavy Matlock complete season.
I got Shameless on Blu-ray, the complete 5th season of Shameless. I watched the first season of this show. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely dug the feeling of the show and never came back to watch any of the other seasons here. So I don't know. Maybe I need to get caught up with this one. Certainly it was a very, very funny show. It's still going strong. I do know that. This one has some special features, a couple of featurettes, commentary. track on it on episode 7 is where it is, and a few other things. So if you're a fan of this, you're probably going to want to get in touch with the complete 5th season of Shameless on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, I got to tell you, I'm one of the few people I know who love this series. I love these 2 girls from Broad City.
Oh, totally.
The 2nd season
Comedy
of Broad
Central.
City. Comedy Central. I'm sorry. These girls are just absolutely hysterical. And this is a very, very funny show. A little raw, a little blue every now and again. This is full of outtakes, deleted scenes, some pop-up menus, and some other things there. So if you dig this series, or if you haven't seen this series and you like television shows about sassy gals running around New York, check out the 2nd season of Broad City.
Starz had this thing called Flesh and Bone, which was a limited series from Moira Wally Beckett, who was a producer on Breaking Bad. Anyway, the idea here, this is actually a really, really good show, and Starz is doing a lot of good work, and they kind of get lost between the Showtimes and the HBOs, I think. But
they do.
They really do, but they do a lot of really interesting stuff. And the idea here is you're following, it's centered around a young ballet dancer. But it's not the usual ballet thing.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Now it's just yes, I do remember.
It is about it. It's not like, hey, isn't ballet wonderful? It is just how horrific and grueling the ballet world is.
Particularly the physical stuff. Yeah.
It's just
the competition
and the emotions that you undergo, and it's really, really brutal. But it is so incredibly done, and it really gets inside that world in a really compelling way. And this is on Blu-ray, and if you missed this, you definitely need to check this out. Even if you are not a fan of ballet, this is not. And I've heard some people say, "Oh, this is this is like a chick flick thing." No, it's not. Like, dudes will be so. You will never look at ballet as something dainty and delicate ever again.
Yeah.
You will be so impressed by what it takes to actually make it in this world. It is incredible.
The world of Misty Uppin. This blows me away a little bit. I got Teen Wolf here. Believe it or not, part 1 of season 5.
I know.
Michael J. Fox made that mediocre movie. I think probably after or between some of those. And I don't know, it was in the middle 80s or the late 80s that he made that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to see that movie then thinking to myself, well, everybody deserves a stinker every now and again.
And then Jason Bateman was Teen Wolf 2.
Teen Wolf 2 was just,
T-O-O.
which was bad move for him.
Yeah.
And here we are, nearly 30 years later. Now, I do know that this series is much darker, kind of brutal. It's one of those sort of CW sort of things, MTV CW sort of things. So, anyway, for fans of Teen Wolf, this includes some collectible bonus cards and a few other knickknacks, along with some special features, including a gag reel. One wonders what the gag reel would be on the Teen Wolf Watch Your Pack DVD. This is a DVD, by the way, not a Blu-ray.
Yes. And also a DVD is The Comedian is a complete series, which is a very short series, only 13 episodes, that paired Billy Crystal and Josh Gad, both of them very, very funny, but the independently funny, I should say. But the whole thing here, which is kind of centered around this late-night comedy show, not that great, I'm afraid to say. It's fine. It's not disappointing. But
was it sort of meta? Was it meant to be meta?
Yeah,
sort of like
a little bit.
30 Rocky kind of...
You know what? It just all I could think of in watching this is just how much more I like it. When a show makes you think about other shows that you like better, that's a problem. And all this made me do was think about, oh boy, I really loved like the Gary Shandling shows. Like those were so smart and so cool and so hip. And why can't?
Too bad I'm not watching.
Why can't they? Why am I not watching that? But anyway, you get a lot of great people showing up in this. Mel Brooks pops in, Dana Delaney pops in, and I'm always happy when Dana Delaney pops in.
Can't go wrong with Dana Delaney. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the complete season 10. Sometimes I wonder, how do they count these seasons? Back in the day, when we were growing up watching television, a season was effectively
September to June.
Yes. And now I wonder, because these shows have way too many seasons. Anyway, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This is a neat looking little box. They're all sort of tricked out like with the Kiss. It was Kiss, right? It was Kiss.
Yeah.
It was a special features gag reel and a couple things like that. Again, 2-disc set, contains all 10 episodes of season 10. DVD, not Blu-ray.
That's it.
Yeah.
And Ancient Aliens Season 8 from the History Channel on 2 discs. You know, it's the usual deal. They continue to somehow milk the old Eric von Daniken stuff far more than he ever thought he could. Really, this is the Outer Space Connection and Chariots of the Gods and all that stuff that I grew up on with those chic Sun classic movies in the 1970s. And I kind of thought that was all, really stretched and debunked. But my goodness, they just keep coming up with stuff with the satellites and the telescopes and everything. New evidence. It looks like that little small hieroglyph somewhere in a tomb in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt actually could really be the aura around this new star that we discovered. Holy cow! Stop it. It's entertaining, but it's not legit. But
Man
anyway.
on the Moon, The Face on Mars, etc. etc. Ray Donovan, Season 3, all 12 episodes on Blu-ray. Ray Donovan is not a series that I ever got into. Started watching Ray Donovan Season 1, thought it was kind of interesting for a while. Then it sort of just evolved into a sort of standard tough guy series. What I liked about it is that it was set in L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. looked pretty good. That first season, anyway, made L.A. look like the city that it is. But I was never able to develop any empathy for Ray Donovan's character.
Yeah, me neither. But I do kind of like the vibe of the show.
Mr. Voight steals it anyway.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Mr. Schreiber a little bit later as well with Pawn Sacrifice if we can get around to that. But I think this show has earned itself a little spot, and I know people who just swear by this show. This is their show.
Yeah. Season 3, Ray Donovan, all 12 episodes on Blu-ray.
Yay! All right, that is it for television. Tim, we got. Oh yeah. You got a couple more.
I do. I'll knock off extant here, just because Halle Berry's television show, produced by Steven Spielberg. Again, watched. The first season of this fairly religiously. It was sort of interesting for a while. They had a bit of AI going. Remember the movie AI?
Yeah.
Had a bit of that going on in the movie. Tried to stay very sciencey. Tried to keep it legit in that way. Went a little bit soap opera-y toward the end of the first season. This is the second season of Extant. Have not seen this yet on Blu-ray. Lots of special features here. Look inside the show, Carnival of the Mind, all kinds of things there. I don't know. I'm thinking that I might check this out. For one thing, love me some Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah,
love him.
He's great, isn't he?
Just fantastic in the show. I mean, love some Halle Berry too, but really like that. So I might check out the second season, despite the fact that it sort of lost me at the end of the first.
And we got some Jeffrey Dean Morgan later too, if we can get around to Heist, which is an interesting little performance for him. And then here is our true last for television, Married, the complete season 2 from Fox, which is 13 episodes on 2 discs. Not a bad half-hour show. Basically kind of it's not Ingmar Bergman Scenes from a Marriage, but it's not bad. It's decently written, and it's got some pretty good performances in it. I'm not familiar with anybody in the cast other than Paul Reiser, but he's gotten old.
Well,
it's not like he's using a cane or anything. But you look at him and you're like, but
Paul's been around a while longer than we thought Paul had been around when he was running around in Aliens.
Oh my gosh.
Pretending to be 30 when he was 35.
Crazy.
It's one of those situations.
Yeah.
What I do like about that show, and Paul Reiser, what was that other one he was on with Helen Hunt for years and years?
Happy for You, Married to You, something
like that.
Yeah, whatever it was.
I always liked that his shows were not the stupid husband shows.
No.
As opposed to some of the other sitcoms where it would be the stupid husband sitcoms. He never did those. He was always a bright guy. The wife was bright. Everybody's bright. And then we're just going to do the sitcom.
Have you noticed that all of these guys who really, really make their careers doing stand-up, and then they get the sitcom and the movie career and all of that, they almost to a one, they never go back to doing stand-up. Yeah. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
When was the last time that Louis C.K., Chris Rock...
the only one that goes back, that has gone back fairly regularly, and it took him a long time before he did the first time, was Gere. Gere went back.
Yeah, and Jay Leno still does it. But Richard Lewis still does it. That generation, they're still hooked into it. But what's his face? Home Improvement.
Tim
Allen.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't do it anymore. I mean, it's like they, Mr. Price is Right.
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey doesn't do it. Like they literally give it up. Or
they'd rather host a game show than face a stand-up audience. I mean, Eddie Murphy. We were talking about Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy hadn't done stand-up until I think he got a Kennedy Center award. No, a Mark Twain award.
Absolutely.
A couple of months ago. That's the first time he had done something close to stand-up in almost 25 years.
It is really, really strange, but I just wonder what is it about that.
Well, stand-up is hard. I've done stand-up, and stand-up is hard. It can also be humiliating.
But a certain generation, they like Carlin always did it.
Yeah,
never stopped. Just
that was it was like the engine for the thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you had a lot of these cats. They were looking to be television stars. There was a whole run. Probably beginning with Roseanne, Jeff Foxworthy, Brett Butler, late 70s to the middle 80s. All of these stand-up comedians that got sitcoms. Then it became the thing to do. The way you got a sitcom was to be a stand-up comedian, and then you would get it. Richard Lewis got one with Jamie Lee Curtis, but that's what they were actually doing. They became sitcoms. They became stand-ups so they could get sitcoms.
Steve Harvey seems to have turned the Miss America pageant into a stand-up routine, too.
Oh, man. You know what's funny about that? I still don't know who
Did you see the card? Did you see the card they handed to him?
No, I don't think I did.
It's a completely understandable mistake. It was just horribly written on the card. I mean, you look at that and you just think, really? This is how many millions of dollars are being spent on this event, and you have some piece of paper that was printed out on a dot matrix printer with absolutely no clear indication as to who won what. It was horrible.
You would think that there would have been, I don't know, some sort of a run through.
You would think.
Hey, Steve. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, anyway, he played it off really very nicely.
What's funny is I still don't know who Miss Philippines is. I still don't know her.
Neither do I.
Which I just feel so bad for her.
Don't pay attention to them anymore. So we're going to get into some new movies now. Some of the splashy new stuff that's come out in the past few weeks, both direct to DVD or Blu-ray. I got a sharp little movie here I want to shine a light on. Life's Journey, Lyfe, Life's Journey. This is one of those faith-based films that has some really decent crossover in it and a really, really great performance by Keith Robinson. This is basically just one of those stories about a guy with a lot of trouble in his life who's looking for redemption and trying to find it in family and friends and faith and all of that. And even if you're not a faith person, it is very, very touching and very affecting. Keith Robinson co-stars along with Rich T. Jones and Angel Conwell. Rich D. Jones got old too.
I know all those guys. I know Keith. I know Rich. I've known Rich for 25 years, and so I can't call him old because I'm older than him. Keith is wonderful. Love Keith. He's very sharp. Keith is a wonderful singer too, by the way. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He put out a couple of records, and you know what that is? That it's not a Tyler Perry movie.
No, it's not.
If people who know Tyler Perry movies know what I mean.
It's a very gentle, humanistic story, and again, you don't.
It doesn't sit right on top of it like some of the ones that who was it? Kurt. The kid used to, Kurt. I think used to be on.
Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, he was the fireproof. It doesn't sit right on top of like that. Dude, did you see The Intern when it came out? Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway.
I did.
I'm sorry, this movie was just fantastic.
I was one of the. You and I are like the only two people that cut this movie a break.
It was funny. It was sweet. It is not as simplistic as you think. It's not just about the old guy and the young guy.
Nope.
These people are in simpatico. Robert De Niro isn't a dawdling old idiot. It takes him a second to catch up, but when he catches up, he catches up.
It is. I have often been really brutal on Nancy Myers, but for those who don't know, Nancy Myers and her ex-husband Charles Shire, they did Private Benjamin and Irreconcilable Differences and a lot of these movies, and then he went and slept with the nanny like they all do, and went off and they got divorced, and he's gone on to make some truly horrible movies. But she has kind of become the new Nora Ephron, right?
Yeah. Since then, it's complicated,
which I really liked.
All of her big movies are post him.
When I knew that It's Complicated was totally going to hit a nerve. We went and saw that with my mother-in-law, and she laughed herself almost unconscious at that movie, and I thought, she's hit a nerve. people of a certain age, this hits them right where it counts.
Yeah. And this one too, and it's interesting because you do have this. You have Anne Hathaway, young, lovely woman running a company. Starting a little startup, but
great .com.
But doesn't know the things she doesn't know. You got Robert De Niro, this older guy, retired guy, tried to pull off the retirement, can't quite pull it off, wants to get back in the world. He doesn't know some of the things that she knows.
Yeah.
Together, what is it? Reese's, you got your peanut butter and my chocolate. It's one of those kind of things.
It is.
And these young guys, this is what I love about the young guys. I think Josh Gad is one of them walking around the movie. And it's not the ordinary thing of where they're going to just, poke fun at the old guy.
Yeah.
No, they realize that old guy knows some stuff we don't know about everything on the planet, and he becomes a mentor without becoming that sort of mentor.
It is a sharp little script. It has a little mini kind of heist interlude slapstick moment that I thought was a little misplaced. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, there's a moment where he's walking around with the other interns, and they ask him, you remember this, where they go, so you shave every day? Like every day? He goes, yeah. Even Sunday? And he's, they just can't comprehend it. They're all scraggly millennials. He wears a suit and a tie every day.
And he looks great every day. Special features, interesting stuff. Fun movie, though. Watch it just because it's a fun movie. Don't believe what people tell you.
Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Absolutely horrendous. This is just such a terrible film. They try to make it look all comic booky and everything, but this is like trying to take Superbad and mash it with a zombie movie. A couple of these nerdy losers they're scouts, right? But they don't really want to be scouts. And the guys, we just want to get laid. That whole thing. We got to go to the graduation party. We don't want to wear our scout uniforms. And somehow for some stupid reason, everyone starts turning into a zombie, and they wind up hooking up with some. The hot girl who graduated some years earlier that they think is a stripper, but she's really a bartender, and she knows how to wield a shotgun for some crazy reason. Anyway, there are moments in here that it's somewhere between Superbad and Harold and Kumar, and there are moments that, for me, I know people like Harold and Kumar, but there are moments that are Harold and Kumar horrible. Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, when people are actually swinging like Tarzan from the extended members of zombies, and then they tear off and they go flying through the air and that kind of stuff. No, I do not want to see that. There is no reason for that. This is as lowbrow as it comes. Really unfortunate. DVD and Blu-ray combo set, if it matters, with Ultraviolet. Yes, add it to your Ultraviolet library by all means.
I did not see this movie, The Gambler, with Mark Wahlberg and the thing with John Goodman and all that kind of stuff. I didn't see it when it came out.
Middling.
It felt middling and the stuff. Plus, watching those trailers for the movie, this guy's an English professor, very bright, secret life as a gambler. He has to borrow money from John Goodman, the kind of guy that tells you what he's going to do with your head. If you don't pay him back his money, and then he tells him what he's going to do with your mom's head if you don't. And the thing about those movies that always strike me as strange is, why would you loan this guy the money?
I don't know.
I'm not going to loan you any money. You're just going to lose it. You're an idiot. And I don't want to do all those things. So anyway, The Gambler, Blu-ray, lots of special features on this thing. Maybe if you're a Mark Wahlberg fan.
Got some little indies here that are worth checking out. Where Children Play, starring, of all people, Macy Gray. Macy Gray is back. She's back acting. She's kind of back acting, and she's not bad. Tiona Paris, Brian White, Macy Gray, Where Children Play. A good, solid, low budget little drama. Nothing sort of spectacular, but it's definitely worth checking out. So
Tiona is in Chirac right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah, she's in Chirac,
which I still have not seen.
Oh, it's fantastic, and she was in Dear White People as well, as I recall. She's very good. She's outstanding. Yeah. She plays Lysistrata in Chirac.
Anyway, basically a story of somebody trying to sort of a woman trying to put her life together again, and finding out that her mom's passed away, and sort of what transpires in the wake of that. But a lot of people showing up there that I haven't seen in a while. Leon Robinson and Brian White. Some really good performances. So nice to see some people show up again, and also All About Eve, which comes to us from Wolf. This is a lesbian romance set in Australia.
You don't need to tell me anything else. You had me at lesbian romance,
and with a really it's not just a romance. It's got a really kind of funky, heisty, girls on the run, sort of Thelma and Louise thing going to it as well. So I don't want to say any more, but it's I guess maybe it might even be a little bit more like what was when Danny Boyle did his Bag of Money movies. There was
Millions.
Shallow Grave. And the Millions, but no, there's another one. What's the one in there with Holly Hunter as the crazy angel?
Life Less Ordinary.
Life Less Ordinary.
Delroy Lindo,
got
fantastic.
Got a little vibe of that in here too. So yeah,
I got the Transporter refueled here. If you had told me,
gosh, why does that series not go away?
When they did the and to be honest with you, I like the Transporter. Jason Statham dug that.
Yeah,
kind of dug the second one. A little bit. It was not, a little hook in there that I thought was sort of interesting. Mm-hmm. We are deep now into and what's funny about this, it says, from the producers of the Taken trilogy, the Transporter refueled. I'm not sure why they decided that was a good thing to put on the on the label of the DVD.
Yeah.
But there it is. I don't know who the hell any of these people are. It's on Blu-ray and has all kinds of special features for a mediocre fourth film in a series of films that probably should have only had one. You know what I did see when it came out? The one I have right now in my hand, The Perfect Guy, Sanaa Lathan, Michael Ealy, Morris Chestnut. This was a good movie.
I remember I was shocked that because I think we were on the show together.
We were on the show together,
and I did not see this. And you came in, and I thought, oh, lay into it, and you actually liked it. And
this was a good movie. It's a look. It goes along like a sort of standard thing, and then it has a twist, right? And then it has a twist on top of its twist. It's pretty good. What's funny about this movie?
I'm happy for Michael Ealy.
Oh, Michael Ealy, and for that matter, Morris Chestnut, who just keeps ticking along. He's got the television show, and I gotta love Morris.
Wait till we get to Heist. We're going to talk about him some more.
So this movie has a couple of twists in it, and you're watching it, and you think you know where it's going, and you think you know where it's at, and you realize, you know what? That's pretty good there, people. I'm going to give you that one. This was a pretty lame-ass movie, but you got me. And if you get me in the last 5 minutes of a movie, you still win.
By the way,
that's Blu-ray.
I did a quick search, and I'd forgotten. Do you know how many hosts there have been of Family Feud? We're on 6 now.
6. I'm trying to run the golf. Obviously Richard.
Yeah. Richard Karn, the other guy from
the other Richard.
Obviously Louis Anderson.
Louis.
And then the short guy. What was his name? He was like the second one.
Oh man,
I know exactly. That short little comic guy.
Obviously, Steve Harvey now.
Ray Combs, and
Steve Harvey right now.
And then John O'Hurley was on it.
And then John O'Hurley. Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
The Family Feud has been around that long.
It's been around that long.
Yeah.
It's been since the 70s. That show just keeps getting reinvented and reinvented. So strange.
I'm not sure that it gets any better. Did you see Sicario?
Let's talk about Sicario, because you know what's amazing about Sicario? This thing just got a Producers Guild nomination for Best Picture.
Did it?
It did. And mind you, here's what did not get nominated for Best Picture. Carol, Room, Star Wars, a bunch of films that did not get in the mix for Best Picture, but Ex Machina did, and Sicario did. Nobody saw Sicario getting in there with the producers.
Look, this movie was a sleeper. But it does, in fact, have its supporters. Now, I appreciate this movie a great deal. There's a problem with it that I have, but I appreciate it a great deal.
I love Denis Villeneuve. I interviewed him years ago.
He knows how to make a move.
That guy knows how to put tension together like nobody's business. I interviewed him years and years ago when he made a movie called Maelstrom, a French-Canadian film, which is just a mind trip. It really is an insanely cool movie. And then he did Incendie, which is sort of set in a mythic, a non-specific country, presumably Lebanon, but got an Oscar nomination. Incredible,
powerful movie,
powerful film. And then he obviously got the call to come to Hollywood, and he's made a few films here. Prisoners had that tension, was just really. And then he made the thing with Jake Gyllenhaal playing twins.
Enemy, whatever it is.
Enemy, that thing was not so great. This is just really.
I
have some issues with this. Tell me what your issues are.
My issues, first of all, Benicio del Toro, absolutely brilliant.
Essentially, it's the story of trying to get to a Mexican drug kingpin.
Yeah,
and you take an FBI agent played by
Emily Blunt. And Josh Brolin, the sort of handler of it all.
And she's dragged into this special team that there's a lot of shady stuff going on.
And this is my problem with the film. It becomes fairly clear early on what the intention here is.
Yeah.
If you're paying attention. And these are very bright people. Emily Blunt's an FBI agent. She has a partner who's with her. And, there's a thing that goes down at the beginning of the film. Some of her people get killed. And they bring her in for her particularly special talents that she has, something that she can do. But they also bring her in because some of her friends got killed.
Yeah.
Now, once we get there in this film and a few things go down, there should be a moment in this film where she signs on, right?
Yep.
And she's clear on what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And either you're in or you're out. They let her play that back and forth thing, kind of where she's dealing with it and trying to. Am I okay with this? And what's going on? I wouldn't have done that.
No.
I would have had her sign on, and after she signed on, I don't think I would have had another word spoken in this film.
That's interesting. It is. I find the film technically incredibly well put together, but I think at a certain point the screenplay doesn't do anything new. It sort of takes us into tried and true kind of nouveau noir territory, right?
And
it's sort of
dealing with the law and how we feel about this.
Yeah, and when doing the wrong thing is the right thing, and how the shady people that we have to make alliances with because there are worse people and. I get it.
I don't care about any of that.
Look, Bogey was already fighting with that back in the 30s. We've been there and done that. I'm not interested in that. But
badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Are you kidding me? So get rid of all of that out of this movie.
I agree.
And once she signs on, once she's clear on what we're doing,
hell of a movie though. Hell of a movie.
I really like it a lot. Anything on that? You got anything?
There's a few things on here. Some basically some featurettes that sort of get into the guts of how the film was put together, and that's pretty much it, which leads me to think that there's going to probably be some kind of a special edition down the line if they can win some awards. Sleeping with Other People comes to us from director Leslie Headland, who previously did Bachelorette, and her stock in trade, for those who don't know, is that she makes movies about strong women, and she just loads them up with all kinds of swear words and vulgarity and just real intense raunch. So she's the female filmmaker that makes raunchy movies that make even guys blush. That's what she does. I did not like Bachelorette very much, but I kind of get what she's going for now. And it's Will Ferrell and Adam McKay got behind this as producers because there's a whole SNL kind of thing going on here. Essentially, Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie, who are both really talented actors, play this couple who had like a crazy one night stand in college, and then years later they both just had they are train wrecks. To use the Amy Schumer vernacular, they are train wrecks of people, and they sort of become each other's way of trying to find a real relationship again, and it's about falling in love after you've had sex. That's kind of the idea.
I gotta tell you, I like this movie. We were on the show. We were on the show for this movie, and we talked about it. And I thought that they found something very subtle in these characters.
There's an underlying sweetness below all the shock and raunch. That sort of sustains it. It's like if When Harry Met Sally were really, really filthy. Right? But there's something to it. And I kind of understand her vibe now. And now that I get her vibe, I think I might take a look at Bachelorette and maybe appreciate it more.
It's kind of okay if you ask me.
Anyway.
I got this thing over here called Adulterage, which the only reason I saw this movie, and I did see this movie, is because the guy who plays Jimmy Olsen in the new Supergirl series, the brother, bald brother, it was in this movie.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Because
don't even get me started.
I'm looking at that, and not to detour us too much, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can totally be down with a black Jimmy Olsen. I'm fine with that. Chris Rock was almost Jimmy Olsen again, which would have been a better casting than Nick Cage playing Superman. But he's buff.
This dude looks like Superman. I'm like,
he's like loped out.
He needs to put on a suit and go fly and save something.
Like the whole point of Jimmy Olsen is he's supposed to be kind of just he's spunky and he's a little skinny guy and he's got a lot of energy and people push him around. He's not. Hey, I'm Jimmy. Jimmy. Olsen.
Sexy as hell. Everybody at the building's like got the hots for him. Like
kind of weird.
Anyway, he's in this movie, and that's why I watch it. Neat little movie, sort of a New Orleans set thing, one of those sort of schemy New Orleans thing. A guy comes home, catches his wife with the other guy, and they get this whole sort of triangle kind of thing. Sexy, kind of bright. Nothing on this. Loosely based, very loosely on a true story. Yeah. If you dig around, you can find the rest of that story.
Jenny's Wedding. Oh dear heaven to Betsy. Katherine Heigl. I don't know what it is. I just don't know why
that girl kills movies. Like, I mean, really,
it almost they should pass legislation.
27. She just
it is
just and she makes the same movie over and over. 27 dresses,
the same mistakes over and over. Here's the problem with this. Jenny's Wedding is about this really, really sweet girl who parents keep harassing her to get married, and she finally does get married. She gets married to another girl, which just freaks the family out, and it creates all kinds of tension and friction. And Tom Wilkinson is her dad, and somehow Tom Wilkinson looks a lot like Spencer Tracy, and she looks a lot like Sidney Poitier, and I started having all kinds of flashbacks, and I just thought, you know what, honestly, I've seen this movie, and gay or race, I don't care what it is.
It's out of date. It's out of date. This is what, last year, right?
Just like a month ago, like 2 months ago.
It's out of date. Even for the characters in the movie, Wilkinson's character, the character who playing their parents. We're gone. We're done with this. We do not care. Yeah. If you go home today, anytime in frankly in the last 3 or 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, if you go home and you tell your mom or dad that you're going to be marrying the nice girl or boy, more than likely they're just not going to give a damn. They're going to want to know who's paying for this crap. That's what they're going to want to know.
The thing that's so sad is to watch Katherine Heigl sort of continue to be oblivious as to why these movies don't work.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because there's so much about it that doesn't work, and she seems to want to plug herself into a persona that just it's not where she belongs. There's no self-awareness.
And the thing of it is, she's a strong female representation. She could play tough broads.
Oh, she's been great. She was great on Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy,
fantastic.
She could do that easily. I said infinitely because I'm looking at Infinitely Polar Bear. Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana, two of the most attractive and affable and lovely and wonderful people you'd ever want to look at. And they're in this perfectly terrible movie that ultimately, again, suggests that the love of a good woman or man can cure some sort of mental illness. And it can't.
No.
And it won't. and that's just... No. But here, he's the one with the problems, and... it's loosely based on a true story. They've got these kids, and he's had some issues, and they just love each other until everybody feels better, and that's just stupid. Blu-ray special features with the commentary track. Maybe in the commentary track they can explain what it is they think.
Maybe
about loving. That will cure your bipolar disease. The name of the film is Infinitely Polar Bear, and it bugs me. That stuff actually really bugs me because I have people in my family. I've experienced all sorts of things to do with mental illness, and this notion, Silver Linings Playbook, that thing.
Yeah, and there was. It's always interesting when movies like this come up in the discussion with the LA film critics, where people who are sort of pushing Mark Ruffalo, because we had a thing now, and it used to be, and all critics groups sort of have this, where people would win an award, an actor would win an award for like not just one performance, but for like 3 or 4 films they did that year.
Yeah.
Right. And the way that used to be was you go around the room and you take votes and you just name your best actor. You don't name what movie they're for. And then at the end, there'd be a motion for like, well, he or she was in, this, and this. Are we going to give it to it for all? What movie are we going to give it to him for? And we realized a few years ago that is completely ass backwards. That shouldn't we be talking about specific performances first? So now we go through the room and everybody names the performance, and then there can be a motion if we want to add another one. And a lot of people were pushing for Mark Ruffalo in this as well, and there was like, okay, no, and anyway.
I don't think so. You and I both enjoyed this one. I'm holding the Blu-ray for Time Out of Mind, that Richard Gere film, Oren Hooverman directed.
Yeah.
And I still, I kind of hate that this sort of completely fell off the radar during our award season run here, because Richard's performance in this movie, plainly he was given a performance that he was hoping would be noticed, and I think that he gave one.
Yep.
The movie does not quite sort itself out over the long haul. Richard Gere plays this guy. He ends up sort of homeless, roaming around the streets of New York. Richard Gere, like you haven't seen him before, sort of, beat up and 20 years past his prime.
Oren Moverman does a really interesting job here. It's very much an experimental film because there's really no plot.
No,
there's no plot to this. It is a character study with an arc, and I think we want to distinguish between the character arc and plot. This is all character arc.
Yeah.
It is about a guy who we don't quite understand how he got there, but it is about him coming to a realization of how he got there. And as he comes to that realization, we also do. So it very much puts us inside that experience. And it does it in a way that is not necessarily entertaining, but it is very emotionally moving.
And felt so true to me. I mean, I kind of understood.
Fly on the wall.
I know this guy. Yes,
right.
I know a guy like this guy. A guy who when I knew him 20 years ago, and he was handsome, and he could way with the ladies, and 20 years go by, and you're not so handsome anymore, and that way with the ladies is gone, and now you live on the corner.
Yep.
Ben Vereen also shows up in this movie. Watched this movie for 25 minutes before I knew that was Ben Vereen.
Wow.
Just being outstanding. That's his other homeless guy. Blu-ray, lots of good stuff on it, special features with the commentary track. I'm a big fan of commentary tracks, by the way, particularly from directors, writers, producers, not so much actors, but when directors, writers, and producers do commentary tracks, I'm a big fan of that. Oren is on this track along with Richard Gere.
Pan in 3D. My goodness. I think we may have finally seen the death of all attempts to continually spin Peter Pan movies in movies. The Peter Pan story in movies.
Bit it hard.
Wow, did this tank hard. So here's the deal. This is kind of like a quasi-prequel to Peter Pan. And we've already had, independent of all animated Peter Pans and all kind of older Peter Pans, in the modern era, we have had already the standard Peter Pan, which was told by the director of, that was a few years ago, the director of Muriel's Wedding, P.J. Hogan.
Yeah,
P.J. Hogan made a big studio Peter Pan, which I thought was really pretty good. I mean, the kid playing Peter Pan sucked, which is a problem. But everything else was pretty decent. But then we also had Hook, the Spielberg film, which is the after the fact, the grown Peter Pan. Now we're sort of trying to complete the dysfunctional trilogy by making a prequel, and man, did it stink. Hugh Jackman bald, just as Blackbeard not kicking it. Man, this and Rooney Mara, boy, did that catch some flack. I think people got caught up between. They didn't know who to be more angry at. They didn't know whether to be more angry at Rooney Mara playing Tiger Lily in here, even though she's not Native American, or whether to be more angry at Emma Stone for playing a Hawaiian, a Swedish Hawaiian for Cameron Crowe. So we've got some problems with casting there. People, please try to pay attention. But anyway, you know what? I mean, it looks good, but Joe Wright, man, he laid an egg. It's really too bad. Really, really too bad. Better director than that. I hope he gets back to his roots, to his very classic British roots, and does something like Atonement again.
Put it into Peter Pan movies for a while. That's okay. With
3D Blu-ray, regular Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet, all packed onto one very unfortunate disc with a lenticular cover that is just pleading with you. It says, buy me, please buy me.
It's like getting poked in the eye. Yeah. Hitman, Agent 47. Timothy Oliphant was in the original Hitman. First of all, it's an adaptation of a game. Yeah. Didn't particularly care for the first one. A little bit surprised when this one came out. Rupert Friend playing the hitman here. Rupert Friend does not have a head that is friendly to near baldness. Some heads look great when they're almost bald. Some don't quite so much. Anyway, if you're a fan of either the game or this series of films, I suppose you might enjoy this. Rupert Friend, digital HD on the Blu-ray. What do they got on this thing? Deleted scenes. A game, interestingly enough, and a digital comic.
So here we go. We have Heist. Now, Heist is an interesting little straight-to-video thing. We talked about this earlier. This is from the Lionsgate premiere line. This was in theaters very briefly before making its way to the current Blu-ray and digital HD.
This is the Chestnut
Morris Chestnut
moment, right?
So yeah, and Henry Dean Morgan as well. So here's the deal with this story. Robert De Niro again. All three of these. We've already talked about all three of these guys this week. So Robert De Niro is basically he's a gangster. He runs a gambling establishment, and Harry Dean Morgan works for him. They have a bit of a history. Harry Dean Morgan needs money to save his kid. His little kid is dying, and he needs money to help. And De Niro's big tough guy insists, "Nope, I'm not going to give you any money. Too bad." So he hooks up with some other guys from who are a little bit shady, and they decide to basically rip him off. And they pull off this massive heist, but things go a little wrong. And then De Niro sends his enforcer Morris Chestnut out to rip. Dude, Morris Chestnut has been such a sweet, nice guy for so long.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. Throughout the 1990s, Morris Chestnut made at least 8, 9, 10 movies that all had some variation of a one sheet that showed him like next to a really angry black woman, and he's shrugging
with
their arms folded, and he's shrugging, just looking
with that beautiful smile.
Yeah, just going, "What did I do? I'm a sweet guy." And then he made that movie like a dozen times, and here he is just ruthless and brutal, and I am so thrilled that he has this new dimension to his career. It's like, dude, play heavies. Keep playing heavies.
Yeah.
That's a new deal.
A little bit of dimensionality in the character there.
I'll say this. This is a very, very boilerplate action film. It would be a straight-to-video, throwaway, fairly decently done. A little bit of speed in here when they're all on there's a bus, right? There's a runaway bus, and there's a whole thing on the hijacked bus. But it does have some really good twists.
Does it move pretty good?
It moves well. It's got 2 decent twists, despite all the other cliched stuff, and despite the fact that Gina Carano cannot act.
She was really good in that Soderbergh thing.
She was. Look, Gina Carano, of course, kickboxer, mixed martial arts fighter, and she's hot and she's tough, and she's if you're a straight dude, you want her to beat you up. You really do.
I just wonder if it's her or if it's the Soderbergh's a great director, and he got a performance out of it.
He did.
So I just wonder if it's her or if it's But I don't know. Who directed the thing?
This was directed by put me on the spot there. I'm trying to find the guy's name.
Sometimes an actor needs a director to get them in the pocket. Soderbergh can get performances out of almost anybody. So I just wonder sometimes whether or not it's the actor or the director. That movie there, though, looked pretty good. It's a good looking film. It's a decently done film for its budget, and it has a great cast. I mean, Morgan is fantastic. He's good in everything. He brings that kind of gravitas to everything that he does. But the director is Scott Mann, no relation to Michael Mann, even though it looks very Michael Mann. He's Scott Mann. Yeah.
But it's fine. It's adequate. I mean, if you like the actors, I think you'll probably like the film.
Yeah. I got Maze Runner: The Scorched Trials, which is the sequel to the obviously one of these sort of used things. Forever I got this series mixed up with the Divergent series.
Oh yeah, no comparison.
For whatever reason, I just thought they were the same damn thing to make. But you're right, no comparison here. This is the Blu-ray for this film. Same director, Wes Ball. Audio, a lot of stuff here. Audio commentary from Wes, the screenwriter, the producer, a couple of actors, and the editor of the film, which I think is really sort of interesting. You don't see a lot of editor commentary tracks. On films, a lot of deleted scenes and extras and this, that, and the other thing. I imagine this is popular with some particular group of people. I mean, they made 2.
Yeah.
And
I think there's another one coming. But as far as the other ones, we got Allegiant coming. That's the big wrap up, I think. Unless it's 2-part. Are they doing a 2-part, 3rd-part thing again? I'm so sick of that.
You're broken into 2 parts. Yeah.
Sick of that. So, Captive. Now, I want to spend just a moment on Captive because I have a connection to this. Captive is this is a decent little low budget film from Paramount that effectively tells some people may remember this story some years ago. It took place in Atlanta. There was a guy, he was in court and trial, found out that his girlfriend was pregnant, and he basically went on a rampage in the courtroom, got hold of a gun, killed the judge, killed a bailiff, goes on and escapes and winds up taking this woman hostage who's a recovering drug addict, and she reads to him from that Rick Warren book, and he turned himself in, and it's a wonderful humanistic story. So there you go. That's the story.
True event.
True story. This is that story with David Oyelowo playing the fugitive and the convict, and Kate Mara playing the woman that he takes hostage. I effectively lived with this movie for over a year because my wife was hired to do the delivery on this film, and you know what? So I'm not as objective as I perhaps should be, but I will say Oyelowo is fantastic, and Kate Mara is really, really good, and it is. Even though it's ostensibly a faith-based film because of the Rick Warren connection, it hardly even figures into this. It's really much more these two characters. It's very much of a chamber piece, and I think they did a wonderful job with it. I think they did a really wonderful job. And Oyelowo made this before he made Selma, but the film was released after, which. I don't know the details on Paramount's acquisition, but I'll tell you, Oyelowo also did that one man performance for television.
Oh yeah,
he's the man of the moment, and he's another one of these great British actors who are taking over Hollywood.
Yeah, dramatic actor wise, and and deservedly so. He is quite good. This is Zemeckis' film, The Walk. Did you see this when it came out? I saw it in 3D, gigantic. What was it? It was like I think it was like 3D, not just 3D. It was IMAX.
Like
3D.
It was IMAX 4D. It actually started in the future and took you into the past, and I think it somehow connected to Back to the Future. I got really weird. I have really a weird reaction to this movie, and. I find it interesting that it was very highly acclaimed at the time.
Yeah.
Critics loved it, but yet it's completely out of the awards
gone.
mix. It's
non-existent. Gone. No one is talking about it. Maybe special effects people or something like that.
What's your thought?
The first half of this movie is, or maybe it's not a half, maybe it's a quarter. It's a bit of a mess, and we're setting up the whole. Who
it's a little clumsy.
It's clumsy. It's kind of, no fault of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, though. He is actually quite good, but it's very clumsy. Now, then we get into what is effectively a caper film.
Yeah.
And an Ocean's 11 sort of thing. Pulling off the event of walking between the towers. That's a pretty good movie right there.
Yeah.
It's sort of not of the stomach stuff. Problem with this movie is it should have started with that.
Yeah.
I don't really need to meet Philippe Petit's, mentor, played by Ben Kingsley when he's in there. I just don't care about all that stuff. And so the movie did not work really. You had to sit through that first half of the movie to get through, the bad half of the movie to get to the decent part of the movie. And I think that the reason that it fell off completely, ultimately, is because if you do not see it in IMAX 3D, 4D,
you're missing 90%.
You're missing 90% of what the effect is. So now that brings us to whether or not we recommend this Blu-ray. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I can recommend this as an experience because you're not getting the experience.
Even if it is in high def Blu-ray 3D.
Yeah.
I don't think it. No.
And frankly, something about that makes it look worse. Because now you can see that all this stuff is fake. There are moments in this movie where nothing is real. There are moments when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Philippe's character, is walking out there on that wire, and he becomes one of those people in the Titanic. Remember when it's a digital Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it's plain to see.
Yeah,
digital Blu-ray. You might as well climb into the screen yourself and do it. So
and part of it for me is that I was a huge fan of Man on Wire, the original documentary that won the Oscar. James Marsh, who would go on to do Theory of Everything, which was a big Oscar contender last year, and that is such a riveting doc because it really immerses you in the real guy. I mean, the photographs, and it has a bunch of that recreation stuff in it, which is how Marsh became. He got Theory of Everything, but the recreation stuff is sort of in the service of everything else. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'll have an opinion on this film for a few years because I really want Zemeckis to come back and keep doing stuff like this in flight. That's what I want him to do. I don't want him to do any more of that mocap stuff.
He went off into that tech. Same thing Lucas did.
Yeah,
went off into technology world.
Yeah,
and and created some interesting technology. All all of which is obsolete now.
Yep.
Everything George Lucas created as a technician is obsolete today.
Isn't that amazing?
And everything that Robert Zemeckis created as a technician, the computer guy with the, all obsolete. No one cares.
Well, our last one to film today is another one that has dropped off the awards radar. Curious about your thoughts on this too. Pawn Sacrifice, Liev Schreiber and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Basically recreating that legendary moment when
Bobby
Fischer and the legendary Soviet Leon Spassky sort of collided in that famous Cold War chess match. Peter Sarsgaard is in this as well, and we have another movie that we'll be talking about of his next week. But this really, Ed Zwick, these two actors, this moment in time.
Yeah.
Why is this not any? I mean, in our voting, nothing from this film showed up.
And which is surprising because
it's not a bad film.
It's a very good film, actually. It's a very good film, and I would have thought. Because, for one thing, this is our generation. I was a kid.
I remember this so well.
When all that was going on, I remember all of that. Bobby Fischer was something of a hero. He's insane now, but I didn't know.
No, he was insane then, too, but he kept it under wraps.
Yeah, he went off anti-Semitic and all kinds of problems with Bobby. But back then, Bobby Fischer was a hero of mine. And all of that was such a big deal. And I wonder if that movie sort of going away has something to do with just, it just sort of fell out of the zeitgeist, of the sort of a contemporary zeitgeist. You got to be a certain age to even know who these people are. And certainly you have to be a certain age to know what this all meant. This had so much more to do than a chess game. This didn't have anything to do with the damn chess game.
No.
It was about the chess game, but it was not about the chess game. And they know that in this movie.
Part of me thinks that Universal simply doesn't care about awards. Part of me thinks that the whole new regime at Universal...
They don't push hard, do they?
They don't. They really don't. And I've got to believe that if they had just made a little bit of an effort, had a reception or two, played the game, sent out some screeners...
We did not get that.
Made a few phone calls... I would be willing to bet that both of these guys would have shown up. Toby would have gotten it. I mean, they wouldn't have won anything, but at least it would have been in the mix, And Schreiber's good in this, man. He's really good.
And all these things matter, folks. I mean, we make fun a lot of around award season. Parties, rich people having parties.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, award season in terms of the economics of this town.
Yep.
Pocketbook economics for companies and individuals is an important thing, and people should know that. This isn't just all this crap that you see on TV.
Very true.
This makes a difference in a big, big way.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, Tim, we are done for this week, and we will have you back next week. And then after that, we will get to hear all of Mark's exciting travails and his adventures in working this horrible job that's been such a secret to all of us. So otherwise, we will see each other tomorrow night and have a grand old time at the LA Film Critics Annual Awards Dinner.
Hopefully nobody will fall down.